Hey, what's up guys, I'm Praetorian and welcome back to Crusader Kings 3, as we're going to be starting a new series today with the Wards and Wardens DLC. So this is not a larger expansion along the lines of Tours and Tournaments or the Royal Court. It's not even a, regular size DLC like Fate of Iberia or Northern Lords. This is something more along the size of the Friends and Foes, I guess that was like an events pack. And so this does have a few mechanics that it adds. So for instance, you have wet nurses. There's also adoption. So it is quite limited who all can use adoption, as it should be for this historical time period. And then also there's universities. You can now attend universities to upgrade, level up your education trait, which is really nice because before, whatever education trait you had gotten, there wasn't really any way to improve that. And in addition to being able to improve it, they did add another level of it. So I think it's now 5 levels, so a 5-star education trait. So yeah, there's a few new mechanics and quite a few new events which seem to focus on child rulers and their guardians. So yeah, it should be interesting checking out some of the new stuff, but do keep in mind that overall, it's not a large amount of new content, nothing like what we saw in our previous series with Tours and Tournaments. So this will be another roleplay series, guys. We're going to be starting in 1066. And I was debating over who we should play and where we should play, and I had realized that, of course, across CK2 and CK3, I have never played in the Holy Roman Empire, specifically in Germany. And not just in the Let's Plays, but I have not played in Germany at all. Since, CK2, I played a couple campaigns here, but in CK3, I have not played in Germany not one time yet. I have played in Italy, so within the HRE, but not in Germany anywhere. And so, yeah, that's where we're going to play for this campaign. There's quite a few choices, since it's a rather large realm with quite a few different dukes. We are not going to play as the Emperor. I figured it might be fun because he's a younger guy. But I wanted to start out a little bit smaller, maybe slowly rise up, though that won't necessarily be the goal of the campaign. And where we're going to be playing is here in Lorraine, specifically as Duke Gerard of Upper Lorraine, because there is a Lower Lorraine, which of course that's based on where they're at on the river. This is downriver, this is upriver. Yeah, we're going to be Duke Gerard here. And we'll take a look at the game rules. We will be playing with our Let's Play settings. I don't think much has changed since the last playthrough. So I just want to scroll through these so you guys know what settings we're using here. So pretty much the standard stuff here. There's a few new ones like this adoption, which we just have on default. And domain limits, I don't know if this is new, as I don't recall seeing it before. But yeah, we're actually going to go ahead and increase that. This is one thing I've always not really liked about the CK series. The domain limit is quite limiting, and I do think the game should have it. Makes sense that the game has it, because otherwise it's too easy to, get a huge collection of land and be far too powerful. They want to encourage you to use the feudal system of this time period. So yeah, they do need to have a domain limit. Otherwise, you'd probably just keep everything in your own hands. But yeah, I always felt like it was a little bit too limiting, so we're going to go ahead and increase it. Since it has this setting here, we're going to increase it by 2. So we'll be able to hold a bit more titles, which will actually work well for another thing that I've changed for the series, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit once we get into the game. So yeah, let's just go ahead and start. So I do have a lot of things I need to go over before we can actually get to start playing. So for example, I'm going to explain how the roleplay is going to work, the rules for the series. And so for those of you who don't care about all this, I'm going to put chapters, so basically timestamps below, and it'll set up some chapters. So you can skip around and only hear the parts that you care about, because yeah, it is going to take a little bit of time to explain all this. So first of all, the roleplay, how this is going to work. If you haven't watched my roleplay series before, I base our decisions off of our 3 personality traits. So in this case, lustful, diligent, and temperate. So those traits will determine the different decisions you make. Some of the things we do as our character, when events pop up, the decisions we take in those events. Other things are not so important. So like cautious leader, that doesn't necessarily mean that we'll be cautious when we actually play as the character. If we had a personality trait like, that we were a coward, then we probably wouldn't even make our character a leader. And if they were a leader down on the battlefield, then they would act cowardly. But with the actual commander traits, I generally don't use those for the roleplay. Generally, other traits aren't really considered either, though sometimes we'll have certain things pop up and I'll make use of those in the roleplay. But for the most part, it's these personality traits, and how those are defined are just based on my interpretation, and I'm also trying to make it fit with how the game interprets those traits as well. And as I've seen in past roleplays, sometimes some viewers will disagree with my interpretation. Feel free to post your disagreements down below respectfully. But of course, it doesn't necessarily mean that, we're going to agree on everything, guys. It's just the way it is. And I'll just try and explain my interpretation and why I interpret the trait that way, so at least you know why we're making the decisions that we make. Every once in a while, I'll also add in little stories to kind of make the roleplay more interesting, and sometimes that has, in the past, irritated a few people. For example, in one of them, I had our character fall in love with another character, even though there wasn't anything in the game that would indicate that our character would have fallen in love with them. And some people got frustrated because they were thinking that, it doesn't have anything to do with the personality traits, so therefore I couldn't do that. And we didn't have an event that popped up and said they fell in love, and so they didn't like that I made up that little storyline. Well, sometimes I will do that. If you don't like that, then maybe it's not the series for you. I don't do it very often, maybe 2 or 3 times with an entire campaign. Might just add a little something just for a bit of flavor. So the next thing we need to go over is that we are playing with a very small mod here, one that I made specifically for this series, and that is one that allows us and any other character in the game to change their succession law to primogeniture whenever they want. There's no requirements. You can see that one of our vassals here, our powerful vassals, opposes it, and that does not matter. We can still change the law. It does have the normal cost of 500 prestige, and this is not just for us. Again, this is for any character in the game, and so I assume that everybody will change over to primogeniture. So this is something I've never done in one of my roleplay series, but I have found over the course of, what have we done, like 5 or 6 roleplay series across CK2 and CK3. Yeah, I think it's like 6, and I have found that this does not work all that well for the roleplay. Despite, you would think that this would fit more, but I find that it kind of messes it up a little bit. And let me explain. So basically, when you have this, partition, any of the partition succession laws, then, it hands out all your titles among your children. So when you play normally, when you're not doing a roleplay, you try to do everything you can to avoid giving out any more titles than you want. You generally want to have your son and heir, your eldest son, inherit, or just whoever your primary heir is, you want them to inherit as many of your titles as possible. And the game does give you a lot of tools to do that. So first of all, you could take any child and just disinherit them. And of course, you got to use that renown to do it, so it does have a cost. Yeah, you can disinherit any child, and that'll ensure that they don't get any of your titles. But I generally don't use that in the roleplay, because it doesn't really fit. We really need to have a story-based reason to actually disinherit a character, so we don't make use of that. Now, you can also have your children go to the church. That's something I do make use of because it is historically accurate. Most noble families would have one of their children, either one of the sons or one of the daughters, go to the church, maybe even a couple of them. And so I generally, in my roleplay, depending on the character traits, of course, will try and have 1 or 2 of the children go to the church. Of course, your children have to be willing to go to the church, based on their own personality traits. But yeah, I'll usually try and have one go. But if you have a bunch of sons, or if the one child you got going to the church is a daughter, then that often doesn't help with the succession that much. So you end up having your territory split up all the time, which, again, is fine. But for a Let's Play, I found that a lot of people want you to continue to expand and to be successful. It's fine to have, some negatives happen, but overall people don't want to watch you consistently lose your territory all the time. That's just been my experience in these Let's Plays. In addition, you don't want to be severely limited in what you can do in the game because you just don't have the territory and the money and the men in order to do much, because you just continually lose your territory. So I end up doing things that don't fit the roleplay sometimes. I don't disinherit much, but I'll do other things like destroy certain titles or try and find other ways to make sure the inheritance goes the way we want so that our primary heir will get more. But more importantly, this is not really historically accurate. Kings or dukes or whoever were not forced to give their other sons territory. Generally they did, because that was kind of an expectation of you, but you didn't have to. Most importantly, you got to decide who you're going to give, each title. You got to decide which of your sons got this title or that title, where in this game, the game determines it, and sometimes in some really odd ways. I mean, we have seen time and time again that the younger sons will get more territory than the older sons. The older son gets the big title, so he becomes a king, but then he gets like one ducal title, while his younger brother will get like 2 or 3 duchies. It's not supposed to work that way sometimes, but it does. Well, stuff like that sometimes happen in history, where your first son got what you consider to be your primary title, which was, let's say, in this example, the Duchy of Normandy. That's your most important title to you, so you give it to your first son, and then your second son gets the Kingdom of England. And so then in that case, you got the second son, who's much more powerful than the eldest one. But again, that was based on what that character wanted to do and how they interpreted the importance of their own titles. And that's the key. I feel like it takes away from our roleplay, is that I can't determine which of my sons get which territory. Like, I'm going to give my other sons territory. I like to do that. I think it's historically accurate and it fits the roleplay. I want to land my sons, but I want to determine how I'm going to land them. And I have the game determine it, and it's just kind of odd, where they determine, you're going to get this duchy over here, and then the second son's going to get this one over here, and then the other son's going to get this one. It just takes it out of your hands, and so that's the key. That's the main reason why we have changed it, is so that it's not out of our hands. We can determine which of our sons gets this. And this is the way I play off camera. I always play where I can change it to primogeniture and do this myself. I've just never done it in a Let's Play before, and we're going to try this out and see how it works. Again, I just feel like it gives us more control over our own campaign here. The third and last thing I needed to talk about in regards to the format of the series is that I'm going to be doing this a little bit different from how I did the previous CK3 series. Is going to be more like how I used to do the CK2 roleplays, where I didn't show everything on camera. So that's how I started with CK2, and then I started covering Hearts of Iron 4 a lot, and the Hoi 4 viewers wanted to see every part of the series, every part of the campaign. They wanted me to show everything. They didn't want me to cut too much out of it. And so I did that with the CK3 series as well. I'd show pretty much everything that happened, and didn't cut any actual sections out. Pretty much any cuts was, I was thinking about what we were going to do, or, stumbling over my words in an event or something like that. So I didn't cut any parts of the gameplay for the most part. And I'm going to go back to the way, at least try it out for this one, go back to the way I used to cover it for CK2, because frankly, we are not making enough progress in these series. And I've talked about this with Hoi 4, as they add more and more content, more and more mechanics and things to do and events, it's getting more difficult to get through the time period. So we've seen that with the last couple CK3 series. We used to make it on average 10 years per episode. So I feel like we were making it pretty good time. But over the last couple series, we're making it about 2 to 3 years. That's the average per episode. So significantly slower, just as we interact with all the different mechanics and stuff. And so I wanted to speed it up a bit so we can make a little bit more progress, not be playing with the same character for 20 episodes or whatever. I mean, maybe it wasn't that many, but it's about, at least 10 to 15 episodes with a character. So for this series, I'm going to try doing it the way that I used to do it with the CK2 roleplays, where some of the more trivial things I'm not going to show. There's a lot of trivial events. The last series is getting a little bit frustrating, actually, like with the travel events. Because with it being a role play, every single event I got to read it and make a decision based on what fits our character while providing commentary. That takes a lot of time, and so it just resulted in the traveling just taking forever because we had to interact with all those different events. But it's other things as well. There's just a lot of tedious stuff that's irrelevant. There's a lot of events that are just completely irrelevant. And once you've seen them that one time, I feel like you're going to see it 20 more times. And so it just takes so much time to interact with it each and every time, and for me to be providing commentary while we do that. I'm going to try and cut out some of that trivial stuff, and thus the videos will likely be a little bit shorter, but hopefully we should be making more time, as it's just quicker for me to not do all that stuff on camera. I can just quickly click through them and make those decisions. But yeah, all the important stuff will be on, and overall it shouldn't be that much that you guys are missing. But you know, if it's like a real small rebellion of like one, let's say we're much larger, so we own all this territory over here, and we have a little tiny rebellion of a little county, and I gotta go put that down real quick. You know, it's sometimes feels like a waste of episode time, because you know, you got to consider not just I'm recording and doing commentary, but also that I have to edit that, and it just adds a lot more time to the episode overall. And for me to make these. So yeah, I think we're gonna try this out, see how it works. Let me know your thoughts, whether you like it this way or would you prefer me to go back to the regular CK3 format. Alright, so we're finally done talking about the format for the roleplay and the series, and we can take a look at our character and the history of the character and his family. I always like discussing this in the beginning of the series because I generally try to pick a historical character I know something about, and this is definitely one of those cases with Duke Gerard here of Upper Lorraine. So we are the Chatenois Dynasty. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, hopefully. And historically, I guess you could call them that house. I think I've seen it more commonly called House Metz is the name of the dynasty during this time period. And they will eventually, and the reason why they're called House Metz is because that was their county that they owned. This is also the name of one of the territories they owned. And so this is our character's father here, Count Gerard. And I think he's actually considered Count Gerard of Metz. That's what he's known as, but they have something different here since we have a different county capital, and CK3 doesn't always directly line up with history. For example, I think our character's much older than he should be right now. I think he should be a little bit younger than he currently is. Could be wrong about that though. So our father was the counts of these territories, and it was our elder brother, Adalbert, who inherited these territories. And one of the Holy Roman Emperors, specifically Henry III, would grant our brother this territory, the Upper Lorraine Duchy. And he took this from this duke, the current Duke of Lower Lorraine, Duke Gottfried III, known as the Bearded. We also had a nickname that the game has not given us. Most people know him as either Duke Gerard the Magnificent or Duke Gerard the Grand. I've seen a couple different names that he was known as during that time. But yeah, we have Duke Gottfried III, the Bearded here of Lower Lorraine. So this was his territory as well. He rebelled against the Emperor, and as penalty to that, he had this duchy taken from him. He'd eventually have this duchy taken from him as well. In fact, that already happened prior to the game here. They took it from him, he moved to Italy, and eventually he had it given back to him. And so these two dynasties here are very much rivals. Doesn't represent that it should with the rivalries here. Because Gottfried did not accept this. He went to war with our brother and killed him in battle. This is also not reflected in the game. It just says that he died of unknown causes, but it wasn't unknown causes. He was killed in battle by Duke Gottfried. And so yeah, we very much should be rivals, unless we're going to go ahead and treat it that way. Like he is a rival of ours, even though it doesn't state that here. We have not forgiven him for the death of our brother, despite the fact that we did very much benefit from our brother's death. So when our brother gained control of the entire duchy, he gave Duke Gerard those counties that he inherited from his father. And so we had those two counties, and then the emperor granted us our brother's county, because it wasn't quite the way the game represents, where this duchy would just automatically go to this character Adalbert's brother. Instead, it did have to be granted by the emperor, and he granted it to us. Gerard was clearly grateful because he would remain loyal to Henry III throughout the rest of his life, which is saying something, because this is a period where the emperors were dealing with constant rebellions, including Henry III. He dealt with quite a few rebellions, but we would remain loyal, being very thankful for being granted this opportunity. So we're going to play along with that. Some people have not liked that past historical characters. I did not play with them in ways that would fit with the actual historical character. And so for this one, we're not going to do that. We'll try and play in a way that fits him. So we will remain rivals with Gottfried, and we will remain loyal to the Emperor, even though this is not Henry III. Henry III is dead now. And instead, it's his son, Henry IV, or in German, Heinrich IV. So Gerard would remain faithful to the imperial dynasty throughout his life, help him put down rebellions, also had to put down quite a few of his own rebellions in his duchy. He also fought for the Pope. He built this capital city here of Nancy. So he's the one who built that city up. He took a little tiny town and started to turn it into a capital city for the duchy, and it would become the capital of the Duchy of Upper Lorraine here, which is why it really doesn't make much sense that our father is known as Gerhard of Nancy, since that was not even a town at this time. It was like a village, and it certainly wasn't the capital of the duchy. So again, I think they kind of made a little bit of a historical mistake there. But yeah, he's the one who really started this, built this up into what would be the capital of the duchy. Now, our son, Theodoric, which I suppose because of the German, his name is Dietrich. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce that, but I've always seen him called Theodoric. He didn't really do anything significant. He's really just known as being his son. I don't think he did anything of note. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, though. So hopefully we can turn him into a little bit more significant character than he was historically. But Gerard would not live much longer past this date here. He was killed while putting down some rebellions. It's believed that he was poisoned. We don't know for sure, but that is what is suspected of killing him. And so hopefully we can live past his historical date. But if we don't, we do already have two sons in the wing ready to inherit. Now you see that he's still set to inherit that duchy. Again, that will change now that we have changed up the succession here. So yeah, we should end up having him inherit everything once it updates here. So this dynasty during this time period was generally known as the House of Metz. Some call it the House of Chatenois, and that's what the game has decided to call it. But they would eventually, in the 15th century, become known as a new name, the House of Lorraine. And that was because the male line died out, and it was a daughter who ended up inheriting, and so her and her husband would essentially create this new dynasty, the Lorraine dynasty. And the Lorraine dynasty would go on to rule many, many lands, including some lands in Italy, and eventually they would marry into the House of Habsburg with Maria Theresa. Maria Theresa inherited the Habsburg Empire in the 1700s. She's the only woman to rule within her own right the Habsburg Empire, and she was not able to become the emperor, despite with what EU4 will tell you with the pragmatic sanction. That's not what the pragmatic sanction was, but the game lets you basically allow women to become the Holy Roman Emperor, so Empress in that case. But that is not what the pragmatic sanction was. There was never a Holy Roman Empress. They never did allow women to be elected to that title. Instead, what the pragmatic sanction was a promise of all the HRE princes to allow Maria Theresa to inherit the Habsburg dominions. Of course, they did not honor that promise, not all of them anyways. This resulted in a series of wars, most of which were led by the rising power of Prussia, and not this Prussia over here, although they did have territory over here. Of course, most of Prussia at that point, the core of Prussia was in this territory here. But yeah, the Prussians were the leaders in most of those conflicts. The first of it was the War of Austrian Succession, which just disputed that Maria Theresa could even inherit that territory. But yeah, that was what the pragmatic sanction was them promising that they would allow her to inherit all the Habsburg lands. And again, they didn't all keep that promise, but had nothing to do with the actual imperial title. The Habsburgs wanted to keep that in their family, and so what they did was they arranged a marriage with our dynasty, which again at this time, since the 15th century, is known as the Lorraine Dynasty, and that marriage created a new branch of the Habsburg dynasty known as the Habsburg Lorraine House. And so that's eventually what happens to our family. Basically, we become the Habsburgs. Of course, the only reason why they were known as Habsburg at all, rather than the Lorraine dynasty, because that's technically what they should have been known, since it was, generally it's the children inherit the father's, dynasty, or the father's last name or family name. But because they're the Habsburgs, that's really what it came down to. They wanted to keep their name as Habsburg. And so because it was such a prestigious family that had, dominated the Holy Roman Empire and Europe in a way, contending with France, of course, but they had dominated the Habsburg lands for so long, and so they wanted to keep it within the family, and so they became that kind of hybrid dynasty, the Lorraine Habsburgs. And that was the one that was ruling when the, Austrian-Hungarian Empire was essentially destroyed after World War I. And so, yeah, this is a very, famous, prestigious family here, even if you might not have heard of this name here or Metz. And in fact, we're going to go ahead and change their name to Lorraine, because this is actually, you'll see this on the map. I guess you'd need to look at our title here. Our family's coat of arms is the same exact coat of arms for the Duchy of Upper Lorraine. It's the exact one, because this is the Lorraine coat of arms. And that's what it would become, and so it just makes sense that we would be known as Lorraine. You don't have to do this, because honestly, they weren't known as the Lorraine Dynasty yet. Again, that would not be the case. We still need to change one more, because that's just the house name. We want to change the dynasty name as well. But yeah, it would not be until the 15th century that they would become the Lorraine Dynasty, when the male branch of the family died off and did not inherit the titles. And so, yeah, we're going to be the Lorraine Dynasty now, though, just because, again, it makes sense since it's the same coat of arms as Lorraine, and because that's the famous name, the Habsburg Lorraines. And so, yeah, we're going to change that now, just for fun. And because this is our key title here, and this may change. We may conquer new territories, gain new key titles, but we will always be the Lorraine family. Alright, so we can finally hop into the gameplay. That took way longer than expected, but it was a lot of stuff to discuss, and of course I wanted to go into that history. I know a lot of you appreciate that. Kind of adds a bit of context to our campaign here and our character. So remember, we are lustful. I don't know that we've ever played as a lustful character in our role plays. It just never happens. So that'll be interesting. We'll be playing a bit differently than we generally do because of that. We're also diligent, means we do not shy away from hard work. It gives us some really nice bonuses there, but of course we also have the stress problems. And then we're also temperate, so it's best to enjoy things in moderation. We're a tough soldier, so not a great education trait. Might be a little bit old now for trying out the universities, though. Yeah, I don't know that we'd want to do that. We're also a strategist, which means we're going to get that diplomacy and the martial points and some nice bonuses while leading our troops. And we're a cautious leader. As far as our stats go, we'll see that our martial is very good, as you'd expect with these traits and bonuses here. Our stewardship and diplomacy aren't too shabby, but not great with intrigue or learning. Also, our prowess is nothing to get excited about, and that's only going to get worse as we get older here. Of course, our son and heir is zealous, wrathful, and he still has the curious trait here, the childhood trait. So we might want to take a look, see what his education currently is. But first, we need to set our own character up, because we do not have a lifestyle chosen yet. We will go with the martial. I think it makes sense to go with the strategy focus, so that'll increase our martial even further. Of course, we already know that we've gone all the way down this branch. That's how we got the perk trait. And I suppose we'll probably just continue going down this one, because we've already started. So just showing what we get from all these. Basically a lot of bonuses for our troops. So probably want to make use of these and do some war here once we get everything all set up and ready to go. And now we're getting that increased prowess, so our prowess would be garbage if we didn't have that. Also reduces the risk of commanding armies. Alright, so let's move up along here, see what our options are. We can pay homage to our liege. It might make sense to do that, since remember, we're very pleased with having this title. I know it's been a while since we got it, of course, but we have not paid homage yet, so as a loyal liege man, we might want to do that. We got some activities we can hold, and let's take a look at all the current situation. Not employing a physician, we should probably take a look at all of our vassals, our powerful vassals, see exactly who those are. So we got a count here, currently holds these 2 counties. And so he's our most powerful one. Got a couple other ones that also hold 2 counties. So he has Metz. And it looks like he's the chancellor. He's the steward. And this is our marshal. So he's got these 2 counties. We got a Countess Sophia over here. She's the spy master holding these 2 counties. And then we have 2 vassals that just hold the 1 county here. Okay, so let's take a look at our council. So if we want to make any adjustments, I assume we want to. Here's our spouse, Duchess Hedwig, or Hedvig, I should say. So she's a lot older than us, and significantly older than us, so I don't think we'll be having any more children with her. Of course, apparently she just had one. I think these are just randomly generated, though I think this might have been his daughter's name, actually, so I'm not entirely sure. Maybe it wasn't randomly generated, but I highly doubt she had a daughter here at 61 years old. Again, I think they're older than they're supposed to be. Yeah, this is our spouse. She's arbitrary, zealous, and calm, and really just good intrigue. Nothing else is all that impressive here. So let's take a look and see what we want her to do. I assume it would probably just be best, because you're getting 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, yeah, I guess you're getting 6 points here. So this isn't bad. It's all spread out. But you'll get 1 extra point if you go with this, 1 total extra points, and we are really bad at intrigue. So you know what? Let's go ahead and have her focus on court intrigue instead. Lose all those other points, but now our intrigue is not too bad at all. Our bishop is horrible. Wow, look at that learning. Nothing to get excited about there. Let's take a look at our chancellor here. He's at 8 diplomacy, so not great. Maybe we want to see if there's anything he would do a little bit better. Stewardship is better, but not better than this character here. He's also not very good at anything but the stewardship, so we'll keep him in place. We've got the marshal here with the 13 marshal score. That's what he's best at. He does have a great learning, though. And then we have our spy master, the countess here. And she is pretty good. So we do want to keep these as is. We're going to go ahead and switch over to domestic affairs, though, with the steward currently collecting taxes, and we might want to stay on that for a little bit. Yeah, we're going to stay on that for a little bit, and then we'll go to the increasing development. The spy master. Let's see what we're going to do, and if we want to change her up at all. For now, she can stay on the disrupt schemes. And then for our marshal, I think we're going to switch him over to trained commanders. All right, excellent. So switch up all of them. And then also, I do have a new keyboard. It's not new, it's an old keyboard, but it's a keyboard I haven't used in many years. I'm not using the mechanical keyboard anymore because I had enough people complain about how loud the clicking was on that. And so we're no longer using that mechanical keyboard. I've been using it for, God, I don't know how long, like 6 years or something like that. So I'm trying to get used to this older keyboard. It's not as fancy. So yeah, we definitely want to appoint a court physician. We'll see if we have anybody that would do all right. Looks like we do not. Do need to take a look at our military as well. So we're gonna have to find somebody. So we're gonna do that decision now. Search for a physician. I think that'd be wise. Also, you can search for a wet nurse. And I think we do want to hire a wet nurse because apparently they help with the education of your children. So somewhat like the court tutor who you always want to have as long as you got children in your court, particularly your own. I guess we can take a look at the wet nurse. Nobody meets that position, so we'd actually have to invite somebody. You'd have to take that decision. Let's just do the doctor for now. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Again, we'll want to pay homage eventually, but let's get some of this other stuff taken care of first. Take a look at our military, our men-at-arms. So we currently have the pikemen, the armored footmen, and we do have some siege engines, so that's nice to start with there. So I assume we're just going to leave these as is for now. Might want to increase up the size a little bit. And we could also get, and they're not stationed, so we need to do that as well. Could get some bowmen too. I think we will go ahead and hire some bowmen. Let's go ahead and create those, and then we'll want to, yeah, let's go increase their size so they're all up to level 2 here. So spending a little bit of that money here, and let's get them stationed. We'll figure out where the best locations to station them would be. So it looks like at the capital we're going to get the best bonus here. We might want to just take a look at what we got in all of our territories. We haven't taken a look at all our counties and what buildings we have. So here in the capital, we have the hamlets. Okay, so that's nice for the taxes and feasts. It looks like that's all we currently have. And this is not the duchy capital, so you don't get that bonus, the extra building slot. We've also got hamlets over here in this location. And over here, we have the bailey. Okay. So I want to say we don't have any heavy cab. Yeah, we don't have heavy cab, so that bonus isn't going to help us right now. Let's take a look over here. We have the gardens and vegetables. Okay, so other than the bonus you get here in the capital, it doesn't look like we're going to have any places that will be better than others when it comes to where we station them. So you just want to station the armored footmen over here, I suppose. There are some differences here. Oh yes, because you do have the mots as well. But yeah, realm capital is generally going to be the best because it gets those 10% bonuses there. So we'll put them here. And then let's have the pikemen stationed in the next best spot. Though I'm tempted to do the archers because often they can be really helpful. Yeah, we'll put the archers over there. And then the pikemen we'll put here. And then just because we have the extra location, we'll put them over here. Not that it's all that important for them. And we'll increase their size as well. Alright, so built up the military and the men-at-arms a little bit here. Might want to take a look at our knights, see how we're doing there. We do have the ability to create an accolade, so it might be something we want to do here in a little bit. Seeing who we got. So far, no good knights, nobody impressive. We could recruit this guy for 85, kind of expensive for somebody who's not even that fantastic. But yeah, a really crappy group of knights. Nothing impressive there. Okay. Let's go and take a look at our children, get their education set up. So currently he's doing the diplomacy education because, you know, he's curious, and so that would work. Could also do the learning education. Let me just take a look at his traits here. I feel like as a zealous raffle character, it's really not the greatest for diplomacy. So we're going to go and switch him over to learning. I think that will fit a little bit better for him. Alright, so we got the learning focus. And we need to get him a guardian. We'll probably be his guardian. Why not? I know we don't have great learning ourselves. But generally I like to be, in these roleplay series, I like to be the guardian of our eldest. So we can pick their traits, and he does have one more trait to get here. So it'd be nice to have some kind of a say in that. Plus, there are a ton of new events for guardians now. This is a big part of the Wards and Wardens DLC. So we'll be his guardian and probably be the guardian for our second son as well. So he's bossy, it's his childhood trait, and he's got one of his personality traits. He's honest. Okay, so bossy works for Marshall, or you could do the stewardship. Gonna be an honest merchant. I feel like Marshall's fine, and maybe he'll serve as a really good knight for his brother. And then our daughter's too young for an education. We do need to, and we would actually be pretty good at this because he's got the martial education. We need to set up a guardian for him, so let's go ahead and do that. And we're going to be our second son's guardian as well. Take a look at those fancy new events here. And we will lose land if this countess dies here. So somebody else is set to inherit her one county. This child here who already owns a county over here. Okay, so there might not be much we can do about that outside of increasing our, our laws here. Increasing the crown authority. So that'll be a goal of ours, of course, as usual. Well, we can claim our lieges titles. We can declare one war here. This is probably going to be the opening war that we do. It is on a Prince Bishop, though. So Anger the church. We can create another duchy. This is another thing we don't have to be afraid to do anymore now that we have primogeniture in place. And God, I just have so many problems with that primogeniture, not being, available here in CK3 until so late in the game. It doesn't make sense that they made it, where it's not available until very late in the game. I would argue that's not historically accurate. But yeah, now that we don't have the partition succession, we can create titles without worrying about, that's creating problems with the succession. Of course, we already saw we can do the accolade, but we don't really have any impressive knights, so we're going to wait to do that. This is another feature, offering hostages. And so hostages may deter or neutralize threats, allowing you to focus your attention elsewhere and grant monthly prestige to the warden. So that's with our historical rival, Duke Gottfried. And hopefully you can make him into a rival. And then we also can exchange hostages here. So this is just an offer hostage to try and, I suppose, stop them from attacking us. Seems like that wouldn't stop them because they had the hostage. You'd have to exchange, right? So yeah, you can also exchange hostages here. Now I'm playing a wet nurse, so that's something we're going to take a look at a little bit later. We can also negotiate an alliance with our nephew over here. Okay, well that's interesting. Yeah, he's right here on our southern border. It makes sense to ally with him. That secures the southern border. So let's go and send him an alliance offer. And then also, there's an active election. We are not one of the electors, though, so we cannot vote. And it looks like our rival here might be in the lead. Seems like he has the most votes. So he might become the emperor. That's not good. Okay. I don't know there's much we can do to change that situation. But I think we'd probably be in the second place. I mean, it's hard to say until the game starts up here. Yeah, maybe not. But yeah, he's an old man. And remember, he can't succeed until Henrik the Fourth dies. And he's only 16, so I highly doubt he's actually going to become the emperor here. I guess unless he starts poisoning people. Alright, so I think that's everything. I believe we're ready to get started here. We're going to do this war, but first let's let a few things happen. And then we'll get it started here. Like the alliance, finding a physician, something we wanted to do here. Just taking a look at our options. You should have good options here in the beginning. It's usually later that you don't have as many good choices. So she's clearly the better one. She's herbalist. They both have the physician trait, but he's just a novice physician. And her learning is better as well. So we're probably going to have to pay, though. They're still not too expensive, though. So yeah, we're going to hire her. And then we might want to also make her the court tutor. We did get an event here, Provisional Catastrophe. And so again, this is an event that you see like all the time. It just happens all the time. So we're not going to read through these. We're trying to speed this up a little bit. And in the future, oh, that's kind of interesting. They show you where the event is from now. So it tells you this is from Friends and Foes. So we can imprison him for eating all our food. And he is a terrible bishop. But we don't have a fair reason to do so, so that would be tyrannical. And would our character be willing to do that? I really don't think so. Yeah. A diligent character here. I just don't think there's anything that would lead us to do that. So we'll just say sign my treat, I guess. We'll gain some stress. Increase opinion with him, though. And that's actually something we needed to do here, which I did forget. We needed to increase opinion with him to get more of his money and taxes. So let's go ahead and work on that. Go ahead and get that swaying started up here. So I will start that up. We're also building up the men-at-arms because we're going to be doing a war here. We should easily win that war too. We have a lot more troops, so I guess it depends on if he's got any alliances. So there's a feast that we can attend. Let's take a look. Is this our cousin down here? So it's not that far. So it might be something we want to do before we start up this war. Also, looks like he wants to grant us a vassal here. Oh, that's the territory that we could go and conquer. I'd prefer to just take it from him. And I believe those are the only war we can do right now. But this is a historically very important bishop. Yeah, I suppose it makes sense for us to accept that. So we'll do that, and that also results in us getting both of these. So we won't be able to do that war then. But yeah, it makes sense to not, given who he is. So we won't be able to do that war. We do want to accept this though. This is that new university visit. Yeah, we're gonna go to his feast. Don't have a lot of time left to do it. We do need to hire a caravan master. We'll do this knight here. He's going to increase the travel safety significantly more, though the travel speed is not going to be as high, but we're already going to have a lot of jobs for her. It's not like giving one person too many jobs. So yeah, let's go ahead and travel over there. And then, before I forget again, let's go ahead and get that court tutor hired, which is going to be our court physician. Should be great at that. And then for the wet nurse, again, we have to send off for that. I don't know how much they're going to cost. Yeah, we'll see what options are. So let me see if there's anything here. Is this something that's going to be constantly notifying us about these hostages? It seems like it's really going to become bothersome here. Alright, so we're heading off to the feast. And thus we have entered into the regency. So we might want to take a look at who our regent is going to be. Also some other things that we haven't looked at. We don't have anything in our inventory. Some characters start with inventory, we do not. Here's our dynasty tree. There's nothing else to it really. Just Adalbert's line, which is not going to be part of our dynasty here, since they did marry off to somebody else. So it's really just our line here is the, all that's of our dynasty. And so we're really starting out here from the beginning. Of course, we are Catholic, which is with those bonuses. I did not take a look at the bonuses for our culture. I meant to do that at the start of the episode. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that. So we have the hereditary hierarchy. So rulers with the poor education traits are going to be distrusted, and loyal trait is more valued. Also, tyranny loss is going to be harder to do. You get a better long reign bonus. Castle holding construction cost is reduced, and feudal vassal tax contribution is up. So it is ingrained in this culture that leadership is passed on by blood, and nobility is bound by stone and castles, and that the feudal structure is unshakable. They do not easily forget those who break the feudal code. Got the astute diplomats, so cannot attack allies, cannot attack through a truce. Alliance negotiation acceptance is up. White peace acceptance is up as well. And we can learn one additional language without penalties. Okay. That also helps with the learn language scheme power. And then castle keepers. So the castles in the counties of our culture provide 5 defender advantage per holding level. So this will be pretty helpful when we defend our own territory. Rulers of this culture gain prestige and renown from castle holdings. Okay, so yeah, that'd be helpful as well. The architect trait provides a prestige bonus, and rulers more likely to construct castles and buildings that increase fort level. But the castle holding construction time is up and more expensive. So that's a major negative, though it is offset a little bit by this, the negative 5% here. But yeah, it's still a pretty big negative there. And also, I suppose we take a look at our innovations. We do not have control of the innovations because the emperor is of the same culture, Franconia, as us. And so therefore he controls the innovations. And as far as what we're working on, it's bailiffs. Okay, so this is what we currently have. So you can see that we do have a few of these unlocked already for this early medieval time period here. Alright, so yeah, we did not set, we should probably go ahead and do this, set up our intent here. We do have a bit of stress, so could do the recreation. Could also attempt to befriend somebody that's here. Oh, it looks like our liege is coming, so it makes sense to try and befriend the young emperor. Yeah, so we'll do that. Well, this is interesting. I don't know if this was an option before. Mischief? Cause mayhem and increase your stress loss with potential unfortunate consequences. I don't recall seeing that. Maybe it was there. Could also do some seduction, because remember it fits our character as a lustful character. But I think for this time, it makes sense to befriend the targets. Maybe we'll just look for a woman in our court. Alright, so we're searching for this wet nurse here. So we could pay more than we actually have here to get the more experienced wet nurse. And that is her here. Or we could go on the cheap here, half the price, and hire her. I feel like he would hire based on which one he found to be more attractive. Neither one of them actually has like the attractive trait or anything. She's younger, so I feel like that's what we'd do. We'd go for the younger woman, and then probably try and romance her like immediately as soon as we're done. Basically romancing our bishop, getting friendly with him, trying to increase his opinion here, swaying him. So we got a travel event here, and this is one I don't think we've seen before, so we're going to read it. Chivalry is alive. While traveling through Champs, we run into some French knights. They are deeply respectful and apparently huge lovers of poetry, as they insist on reciting it at every chance they get. So they speak in rhymes. The code of conduct they follow has several merits, and I can't help but admire it. One of the knights, I don't know how to pronounce his name, Etienne, is particularly impressive. He does look impressive. Mighty strong. He's a giant. Y'all know I love hiring those giants. We're going to marry him off and everything, and maybe make him into our accolade knight. Yeah, be our champion. He's a torturer, too. Okay, he probably crushes their skulls with his bare hands. Open terrain experts. Good martial skill. I am impressed. Very young man, too. So yeah, we would definitely want to hire him if that's an option. Doesn't look like it is. Instead, we can say, I'd love to take this tradition home. Reduces the cost of establishing the chivalry tradition by 1,000 prestige. Or you can say, I should try being more personally chivalrous. And this will give us a diplomacy prowess bonus. I feel like we'd probably go for this. Yeah. We'll go for that one. We're going to be changing up our cultural traditions right now, a little bit early in the game here. But what I want to do is hire this guy if we can, invite him to court. He would not be willing to go. That's a shame. I got excited about potentially hiring him. Could just try and sway him. But yeah, seems like he's just not interested. So that's a bummer. Maybe if we kept him pinned up here. Yeah, maybe we'll pin the character so we can find him later. Let's see what he's doing. Maybe in the future he'll be more willing to accept coming to our court. Alright, so we got to the feast there. And the events are kicking up. We're going to go and put the speed 5. Again, we're trying to make faster time. Though with this first episode, I don't expect to make great timing here. Yeah, just to make more progress overall than what we typically do. The innuendo. So it's silly events like this that I'm generally going to be skipping every once in a while. This one I won't, simply because it's kind of funny. I wanted you guys to read it. So she doesn't know what she said that was so funny. If you squeeze the head, a thick substance will pour out. So she doesn't understand. We're going to say this one, repeat what you said, but slowly really think about it and hope that she shares the same kind of humor and isn't embarrassed. And looks like she did. She found it very funny. Looks like taking that option also resulted in us becoming closer to forming a rivalry with one of the dukes here. We got another event with her, and gonna get some prestige, and she's impressed with our knowledge. So our stomach is rumbling. It's taken much of the evening to get myself close to Kaiser Heinrich without making it feel forced. After all, the best friendships are natural, and I want him to think this is spontaneous. The man gently dabs at the corner of his mouth with a corner of soiled tablecloth, brushing away crumbs of flaky pastry. I just hope the next course is a bit lighter, he opines. The whole point of a feast is to provide a rich, varied culinary experience, and so far this has felt more like it's trying to stuff us than excite us. So we could say, yes, sadly it was a poor choice, I think. Loudly sing the meal's praises, or switch the subject to something less contentious. We're trying to befriend him, so we're going to say, yes, sadly it was just a poor choice, I think. We'll see what happens there, but I noticed that he's already injured. Wonder what happened to him. Wonder if he's been fighting some wars or something happened here. Yeah, big ol' injury on his face currently. Not looking too good. So we'll do that, and we charm him utterly. So he became a friend. So we are now friends with the Emperor. So that's very beneficial. I did not expect it to go that well for us, but it did. Now, our regent, I did forget to look at that. I got to looking at all the other stuff down here, and I didn't look at the fact that our wife is our regent, and I had noticed this, that she's very self-interested. And so already she has swinged the scales of power in her favor. We want her to fill the coffers, by the way. You know, she doesn't look all that interested in doing that. Yeah, clearly we need somebody who's a little less self-interested, need somebody more selfless in this position. It is our wife, though. A pleasing atmosphere. So I think with this event, it makes most sense to go with good folk to mingle with here for our character. Because, yeah, we're not most arrogant character. Alright, so there's a toast to the mayor. And so we'll just say here, here. And now it's time to go. And we made some progress to get the eager reveler and also lost that stress that we had gained. But most importantly, we have ourselves a new friend, the Emperor. Look how fast we're moving through there. Alright, so we've already arrived back home. Our regency has ended. Gonna have to be careful with our wife as regent. Gotta watch that woman. Alright, so we want to pay homage to the king. That costs money, though. And as a friend, I think we'd even want to do it more so. We were not able to sway the bishop, though, unfortunately. So not good luck there. So yeah, we're going to get a little bit of money earned here, and then we're going to go ahead and pay homage to him. And a whole bunch of stuff popping up over here. So the Emperor's actually got a grand tournament kicking up already. Well, of course we're going to attend that. I mean, we're not great prowess-wise, but we can see what exactly he's got going there. There's a couple tournaments going on, though this one we would not be able to reach. The Pope is often, because they have so much money, the Popes are often doing tournaments down there. But yeah, you don't really see too many tournaments from the Kaiser. Or, you know, I played in France for my other playthroughs, and maybe I just didn't see it because it was so far away. So yeah, we're going to join this tournament, and yeah, we should be able to arrive there in time. I mean, we actually have plenty of time here, so we don't really need to leave this early. We might want to wait a little bit. Yeah, let's give it a little bit of time before we leave here. Yeah, I think we should wait. Give it like, maybe leave towards the end of March, because we do want to give it some time. So I gotta be careful with this here. Yeah, we'll leave right about now. And do we get our next, yep, that's the next trait for our son and heir. So it's just is what he currently has. Now, I say this in all my series, my roleplay series, when it comes to picking traits for our heir, or really just any of our children, I generally don't base it off of our own character traits, because when you do that, then essentially it just results in you passing your own traits to all your own children, which in a roleplay makes the most sense, but it doesn't result in the funnest style of playing, so you just plays, you know, same characters over and over again. So yeah, in this case, we pick the traits that we want to get that would fit best for the roleplay. So yeah, like it would make the most sense that we'd say this is a lesson of moderation in all things, and then he'd get the temperate trait too. That would be what our character would say. But we don't want to do that in this case because we want something different. So that'd be interesting, him being just, wrathful, and zealous. Now, I'm not entirely sure how you're cynical and zealous. Can't you not have both of those? You would think it would result in us losing that because those are opposite traits. So I'm not entirely sure it would happen there. So let's not go with that one. We'll just let him keep the just trait. So he has his 3 personality traits now. And we want to go ahead and join this. Give ourselves a little bit of time to get there. This is what our entourage is going to be. It looks like our son's going to be going with us. Looks like the route is fine as well. We don't need to customize that or change it. It seems pretty safe route. Not going to be too expensive either. So let's go ahead and start heading over to the tournament, which is where we're going to be picking up in the next episode. And every available online tonight is going to be accompanying us, so they'll be able to compete in that. But let's go ahead and take a look at that tournament real quick, because we'll want to look at our intent. And I suppose we'll try and triumph. I don't know how well that's going to work out. But I did forget that as our lustful character, we have got to find somebody to romance. We've already been in the game a couple years now. We have not romanced anybody yet. Now I know that we can't romance them just yet. That's the reason why we haven't done it, because we have to do the sway first. But I did want to show you guys the options here, and if we even have good options. And this is not the right button here. I'm going to take a look at who's all sitting in our court. So we've got, well, she's ill, so might want to let her get over that first, not trying to catch whatever she's got. Let's go ahead and set it up so that it only shows us ladies. And then, is there anything else we might want to specify? That they're an adult. Well, one reason why we hired the wet nurse is to romance her. She's a young lady. But also, our court tutor and physician, she's a young lady as well, and she's lustful too. So I think we'd try and romance her as well. They're both lowborn ladies. And so yeah, we'll start up these romances as soon as we get this done, because that's pretty important. But it's taking forever. If it takes too long, how long is our character willing to wait? I don't think we're willing to wait that long. So we need to find somebody to bed, and quick. It's an emergency. So yeah, that's going to be a big part of the playing as Gerard here, since he's lustful. Remember, he's also diligent and temperate though, and so maybe he should only be enjoying women in moderation, since he's temperate. And so maybe it's good that he waits a little bit. He holds off. Take care of business first. This is business. You know, he's very diligent, so he's going to take care of business first. Sway the bishop, get that under control, so we get all that all the manpower and the money from the church, and then we'll take care of our other needs. So yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy this first episode. In episode 2, we're going to be doing the tournament. If you did enjoy it, make sure you leave a like on the video, subscribe to our channel, hit that notification bell, and leave a comment, particularly regarding some of the changes I've done for this campaign from past ones. So obviously I didn't really cut much in this first episode, but in later episodes you're going to see more and more cuts, as I cut some of that more tedious stuff, the trivial events and stuff. We'll be cutting some of that out. Again, it's not going to be a lot, because I don't want to miss out on too much. I don't want you guys to miss out on too much, because you never know when something small can become something major. This little event with one little minor character and then becomes a big part of the campaign happens sometimes. So I don't want you guys to miss out on too much. But yeah, cut out some of that trivial stuff. And then also with the mod that we're using. I don't know how many people are going to have a problem with me going to primogeniture. Again, we will be giving out territory to the rest of our children, as we would historically, but with this, we control what territory we give out. So let me know what you're thinking in regards to these changes here. Love to have your feedback on that. If you're looking for any links, check out the description of any of our videos. You'll find links to our PayPal, Patreon, and Teespring store if you'd like to help support the channel. You also find a link to our Discord if you'd like to join our community. And finally, you'll find links to all of our social media if you'd like to follow us on those. If you're looking for anything to watch while you wait for episode 2, check out the front page of our channel. Got a ton of videos all sorted by genre and quite a few CK3 campaigns now. I don't know how many we've done. I know we did one on console, and then on PC we've done, I want to say 5? Yeah, I think we've done 5 campaigns now, with all of those except for one being a roleplay series. So we do have plenty of CK3 to watch on the channel. But yeah, I do hope to see you guys on episode 2, and thanks for watching.